Welcome to the Practical Growth Podcast. I'm your host, E.B. Johnson, top writer on Medium.com, published author, and master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. You've landed on the podcast that takes you on a journey into the heart of relationships and self-discovery. This is a must listen for those who are ready to overcome their toxic relationships and their toxic patterns. You can expect real talk, practical guidance, and raw and relatable guests that you'll be talking about for weeks. Let's get into it. Hello again. We are back after a lovely 1 week long hiatus. Thank you so much for being patient with me. I'm not going to be disappointing you with this episode. This one is going to boost you. It's going to motivate you. It is going to totally shift your perspective and change the way you are looking at your relationship with yourself, with your toxic family, and with your childhood trauma. Yes, that's right. Today, we are going to be talking about rebellion. Rebelling for yourself, rebelling against the people who hurt you. Yeah, I'm going to encourage you to rebel, but don't go crazy. Just hear me out. It's going to be really exciting stuff. Just before we jump into it, are you someone who was curious about getting coached by me? Well, I hate to break it to you, but it is almost August, and that means that time is almost out. You are almost out of time to really make something happen for yourself this year. So, unless you want to go into 2023 feeling as exhausted, scared, lonely, confused, sad, frazzled, burned out, completely freaking frustrated and angry, and you have no idea what you want to do or where you're going or how you're going to make it stop, if you don't want your 2023 to feel like that, then you need to apply to work with me now, okay? My program has been wildly popular. Thank you so much, TikTok. So if you want to really make some change happen for yourself, you're almost running out of time, okay? My program's completely sold out through September, so you're going to have to apply now. I only take on a few clients at a time. To do that, head over to therealebjohnson.com. Okay, click on Working With Me, and you'll find out more about coaching, and you'll also find out how you can apply to work one-on-one with me over 8 weeks using my proven NLP practices and guidelines, okay? This is all about reprogramming your beliefs. It's all about reprogramming your behaviors and reprogramming your entire perspective of self, your perspective of recovery, the perspective you have of your childhood trauma, and your perspective of the world. So, if you're really ready to make a serious shift in your life, to really make something good happen for you, then you need to head over to therealebjohnson.com and click on Working With Me to apply today. All right, so jumping into it, rebellion. That is not something that you hear very often, from a coach or anyone in the self-help or mental health or personal development fields, right? You might hear like, be yourself, be an individual, don't conform, but not very often are we told to rebel. That's not a big theme. There's actually a lot of kind of undercover Zen conformity that happens. This kind of mindless repetition of relatively worthless ideology in these communities. And that's why we see people who continue on in cycles, who never actually change behaviors, who keep buying books and keep showing up to seminars, but who don't actually feel any better about themselves or what they're doing or their lives. But we're going to change that today. We are going to shift the way you see your recovery journey right here and right now. And we're especially going to shift the way you feel about your toxic family, the way you were brought up, and what you're going to do with yourself from right here and right now. Somewhere along the way, we have completely lost sight that rebellion is a good thing, right? You go back through history, rebellion is something that happened when things went wrong, things were bad for people and it needed to be changed. So people banded together, they rose up and they changed things. They shifted towards progress. And that's the same thing we're doing here. That's how we have to learn to look at our own recovery and healing journeys and our own rebellion within these toxic systems, right? These toxic programs, these toxic behaviors and beliefs that have kept us going through the same cycles, repeating the same toxic relationship with partners who treat us just like we were treated by our neglectful, abusive, toxic, narcissistic families. Okay, this is how we break out of repeating those patterns. We rebel against them. We stop going with the flow and we break the current. That is what we are going to be talking about today. And it's all going to start with leaning into the power of perspective, the power of perspective. Now, if you came from a toxic, narcissistic, abusive, or even a neglectful family upbringing, a background, a cycle, whatever it is, then you are conditioned, okay? You go into this world having normalized some very harmful emotional states, some very harmful environments, and some very harmful beliefs or lessons about yourself and your relationship with other people, okay? That's fundamentally what happens. And along with that, you are handed a big, old, nasty basket of a warped perspective, okay? Just imagine that someone's handed you a big basket of rotten fruit and thrown you out into the world and told you good luck. That's ultimately what has happened to your perspective. You see things the way your warped family saw them. So that might be dictated by one single narcissistic person at the top, but there's also kind of layers to it, right? Because you have experiences with all those other people in your family, and then you have all these experiences with the outside world, which you kind of bring back into your family, right? When you're looking for support, or you're looking for love, or you're looking for some kind of help, some kind of breakdown or explanation. But in toxic and abusive families, we are taught to diminish ourselves. We are taught to be insecure. We are taught to be self-loathing. We are taught to be distrustful of others. We are taught to be distrusting of ourselves. We're really sent out into the world not seeing things as they are. In reality, we kind of see them according to our warped emotional states. So before we can rebel, we really have to change the way we see ourselves, and we have to change the way we see our relationship with our family and that abusive kind of structure and connection that we have with them. Now, the way that we change our perspective is very interesting because it requires most of us to do the one thing we were never allowed to do in our toxic families, and that is to get angry. Right? You really want to fast track your way to seeing the world differently, seeing the way you were raised differently. Even if it's just for 24 hours, allow yourself to be angry with everyone in that family that you felt wronged you. Allow yourself, without letting any voice of doubt creep in, to just feel that anger entirely for every single little incident you can remember. Just feel that anger, that justified anger. Now, we're not talking about, well, she spilled soup one time accidentally on the floor and then she had to make me new soup and it took 10 minutes. That's not what we're talking about. Okay? All those moments, those little moments of trauma, those little moments of hurt, those little moments of neglect, when the parent did something relatively small that was extremely hurtful to you, look back at those moments and let yourself be angry. Now, this is what we call kind of intelligent anger. You set a time limit for yourself, right? You're not giving your anger full control. You're just kind of giving it access. And when you learn to be angry, when you learn to allow yourself to be angry instead of shaming yourself, instead of saying things like, oh, but they're your parents, or oh, they did the best they could, or oh, they didn't know any better. When you let go of all the gaslighting and excuses that you've been very, very trained to hide your trauma and your hurt and your upset with, and you allow yourself to get angry, it'll shift the perspective. All of a sudden, you will see things that never should have happened. And standing there in that justified anger, the way you see things, it shifts. It has to shift. It necessarily shifts because there is no justification and there is no explanation. There's no apologies. Sometimes people just screw up. And that's okay. Okay, that's the other side of this justified anger. So you allow yourself to see what was done wrong and you allow yourself to get angry about it. And then that will begin to break these ties of, but they're your parents. And just because you're angry with them doesn't make them bad people. Just because you're angry with them doesn't mean you have to cut ties with them. But this is the starting place. This is the foundation of our healthy rebellion. Part of rebellion is righteous anger. It is a justified anger from repeated hurts that have proven to be damaging over time. When that kind of system continues to break, continues to crack, continues to crumble, eventually it's going to completely shatter, break down, erode. People cannot take that burden forever. Okay, we're not machines. We are very much natural carbon beings. We break down over time. So we allow ourselves to get angry so that we can lean into this healthy rebellion, this healthy stand for ourselves, this healthy break, not necessarily from the people, but certainly with the norms, the dismissiveness, the damaging traditions, the abuse, the neglect, the hurt, whatever it is. This is what we are fundamentally going to rebel against when we are standing in the light for ourselves. Oh, well, that might sound all well and good, right? Yeah. You allow yourself to get angry and you change the way you see kind of what was done to you, right? That's great. But come on, like if you rebel against your family, you're going to completely burn all the bridges, right? No, not necessarily. No, because that's the thing, right? We've turned all of these, what are actually really positive, big, intense words like rebellion into negative associations because they're intense. Right. And they can be complex. And as humans, we're like, oh, intense, complex. No, give me the easiest thing. But we have to stop doing that. We have to see things as they really are. We have to see words for what they truly mean. That's part of NLP. OK, when you see these things and you use these things appropriately, it changes the game for yourself. And that definitely applies to rebellion. It's just like our anger. We've been told to shy away from anger because it's a big, intense thing and it can be complex and it can be hard. And it also means setting boundaries and saying no and doing difficult tasks. And the same with rebellion. It has nothing to do with anyone else, right? We see it as like, oh, well, if you're rebelling, you're going to cut the head off the king. No, if that happens, but that's not the core of what a rebellion is about. A rebellion is about you. It's about you, right? The people, protecting the people, making sure that core is protected, that it's safe, that it is moving forward, moving toward progress, moving where it needs to be. Rebellion has nothing to do with them. You're not using rebellion to punish anyone else. You're using your rebellion to rebuild yourself, to rebuild a new world in which you can benefit. It's not about punishing anyone else. It's about helping yourself. It is a tool for personal growth. All right. Fair, right? Makes sense. It all really makes sense. Well, then how do we do that? What does healthy rebellion look like in terms of recovering from a toxic, abusive, narcissistic, or even a neglectful family? What does that look like? How do we use rebellion for ourselves? Well, first and foremost, figure out who in the heck you are. That's right. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, but sometimes the biggest act of rebellion, especially in terms of a toxic family, is figuring out who you are and living unapologetically in your truth, whatever that may be, as simple as that may be. Okay? Because toxic families, they hate few things more than you figuring out who you are and standing up to them in the face of that. Okay, it's one of the core attributes of toxic families. They completely beat you down. They make you insecure. They don't make it safe for you to explore yourself, to explore who you want to be, your own values, your beliefs, your friendships, your relationships. They control those things. They use fear against you in order to manipulate you into wanting the things that they want for you. Okay, and that's especially true in a narcissistic family. It's how they keep power. Okay, it's how they detach you from your self-confidence and from your needs so that you don't disrupt these toxic cycles, these toxic patterns. They have to break you down. They have to deny the things you want, the things you need, the things you enjoy. They cannot leave room for you in the family to be yourself. Okay, you have to be an accessory in the toxic family. So if you really want to rebel in a way that eats them alive while absolutely benefiting you, okay, helping you grow, helping you achieve, helping you be happy in your life, then find the courage to figure out who you are and live in that truth. Choose yourself, choose your needs, and choose the things that spark your passion and kind of light the world up and bring things to life. Figure out what your future is and then create it despite them. So if finding yourself is the first step to healthy rebellion, then committing to authenticity is the necessary second step to that, right? Because once you figure out who you are, it's all good and well, but then your toxic family, the patterns that they've installed in you, those beliefs, that self-doubt, that kind of inner critic, that's all going to come shooting right back up to the surface. And it's going to try to drag you right back down. Like, you will be your own worst enemy. And then the world will also try to punish you for figuring out what it is that actually makes you happy. Okay. Because the world doesn't reward happy people. It rewards miserable people, in case you haven't noticed. So if you really, really, really want to make sure you maintain this new self that you've discovered, you've got to commit to authenticity, like a radical sense of authenticity. And this will help you break away from the cycles. You've got to find new friends, and you got to build a chosen family for yourself. You have to have so much love that you select for yourself, love that chooses you back, that it just doesn't even matter what they do to you. Because, you know, like, yeah, okay, you're going to kick me out of your village. I don't care. I have a better village to go to, right? So you surround yourself with the things, the people, the environments that you love. Even if that means you've got to create some space, create some distance with the people who brought you into this world. It's not saying you have to go no contact, but it might mean, you know, making a plan, getting serious, and moving out of their home. You have to be more authentic every day. It won't happen overnight. Okay, this commitment to being radically authentic, radically yourself, you got to do it a little bit every day, and then you will become more bold, more courageous in maintaining it and doing it. Always choose yourself, okay, and choose with gentleness and with compassion toward yourself. Stop seeing just what the people who have beaten you down in this life want for you. Be authentic to yourself. Now, number 3, this is it's not the last one on the list, but when I tell you this is the nuclear bomb in the arsenal, this is the ultimate act of rebellion. Okay, we're going to go through some other ones, and they are great, and they are going to help you maintain and be more fully yourself. But this is it. This will cut your toxic family to the core if you can choose yourself enough to make it happen. And that is this: be better than they were. I am so serious when I say this, and it is both the biggest thing and the simplest thing that you can do. Nothing will drive your toxic and abusive and neglectful family crazier than having the courage to give yourself the life that they never had the courage to give themselves. So all you have to do, okay, all you have to do is give yourself the chance to thrive. That's it. You just have to thrive, not on their terms. I'm not saying that you become the teacher that they wanted to become, or the singer, or the, whatever, the manager that they wanted to become. No. You get in the habit of choosing yourself every time it counts, and you will have a life that makes them absolutely seethe with jealousy, with rage, with regret, with all of the big emotions that they probably hammered you with. Seriously. More often than not, our toxic families fully expect us to fail. They expect us to fail, and a part of them really wants us to. Okay? They would not be horrible to us, be awful to us, emotionally neglect us, call us names, rip us down, give us insecurities, give us low self-esteem if they wanted us to be better. That's just factual. I don't care what any parent says. If you're like going around making your child feel scared all the time and making them cry all the time and be like really obviously upset, yet you're ultimately a bully. Okay? You're ultimately a bully. So these bullies don't want to see you do well. They want to see you do what you're told, but they don't want to see you do well. And when they see you fail, that just justifies and validates everything they ever complained about in you. So disappoint them. You want to rebel against them? Disappoint them. Don't let them see you fail. Instead, allow them to see you living a life that's completely fully yours, that it's just yours, that you just feel comfortable in, you feel happy in. Just let yourself grow up. That's it. Just let yourself grow naturally into the happiest, healthiest, most successful version of yourself, whatever that is. Even if it's just like selling seashells down by the seashore. Okay. Even if it's just that, Whatever it is, choose yourself, choose that ideal life for yourself, work toward it every day. Stop doing the things that make you miserable and start pursuing the things that genuinely make you feel like your life is worthwhile. And that will completely destroy them. That will be the final blow to that empty torrent that's inside of them. Because here's the fact that no one likes to acknowledge. These toxic families, especially if you came from a narcissistic family, when they see you do this, they will see in it a reflection of themselves. And in that reflection, they will see all the things that they could have done for themselves, but that they didn't have the guts to do. And if that's not rebellion, I don't know what is. Now, what else can we do? What else can we do to really, really rebel and choose ourselves radically every single day? Well, it's all now about like management. From here on, you've got a sense of self. You've got some confidence. It's all about managing that. And we do that next by creating and choosing joy. Creating and choosing joy in our lives. When you choose joy, you end up being genuinely fulfilled, healthy, joyful. And when you are that kind of a person, when you're fulfilled, when you're healthy, when you're joyful, when you feel complete in your life, you don't need to abuse people. You don't need to warp reality. You don't need to make excuses or torture people. You don't need to harm people, make them cry, make them angry, make them upset. Unhappy people are the ones who make other people unhappy. That's just fact. Misery is contagious. And when you're a continually miserable person and you don't do anything about it, that misery becomes a part of your personality. That victimhood becomes a part of your personality. So joy is one of the core things that we have to consciously, intentionally choose to make sure that we don't get caught in that trap. We have to choose happiness for ourselves and break out of that hurricane of unhappiness that we've been conditioned to accept. Next, if you really want to rebel, you have to get into the habit of speaking up loud and often, okay? Toxic families are a lot like secret societies. They work because no one ever talks about what's going on behind closed doors. They move in the shadow. They demand secrecy and obedience from everyone involved, and that's how the darkness perpetuates. So if you want to quit it, if you want to make sure it stops with you, you got to start speaking up. And no, I don't mean that you have to stand in the kitchen and yell at your parents. That's worthless. The damage is done. They're not going to change. If your toxic family is still being toxic and you're an adult listening to this podcast, you're not going to change them, okay? And I'm sorry if I'm the first person who's told you that, but it's never going to happen. They are who they are. They did what they did. The damage is the damage. Your nervous system is damaged. Your brain's damaged. Your beliefs are damaged. Your perspective's damaged. It is what it is. You don't have to speak up to them. You have to speak up to yourself. You have to speak up to yourself. And you've got to put the truth out there, even if it's only to yourself, even if it's only to close friends, maybe a close partner, or even if it's just to a therapist or a coach. Call a spade, admit what's going on, allow everyone around you to be accountable, even if it's only to you. That's fine, but you need to admit the truth. Admit what's happening to you. And then if you have the courage, share your story, write about it, journal about it. Get on a YouTube about it, do a TikTok, whatever you want to do, you can talk about what happened to you, especially if it makes you feel better. You're allowed to do that, so take that power back for yourself. And last but not least, you have to always, always, always keep your vision set on healing, on improvement, and on health. These abusive families, outside of the secrecy, they only exist because generations of people have failed to do the work to make themselves emotionally healthy from the inside out. Period. It's generational curses when you look at it. My mother was traumatized by her parents and step-parents, and then they were traumatized by world wars and famines and depressions and crazy immigration and all kinds of stuff. And then their own parents, who no doubt were traumatized in the 1800s, that starved on boats, all of these other kinds of things. Generations of people pass down their pain to their children. Your parents passed it down to you. And unless you consciously every day wake up and say, how can I be better today than I was for myself yesterday? And it's the for myself that's important there. You're going to just end up sliding into those same patterns and passing it on to your children. So you want to become a rebel? You don't need to destroy yourself with drugs or bad relationships or by proving something that you don't even really want to prove, right? Like, you don't have to go and win $1 million or become a doctor or any of that other crap. You need to heal. You need to heal, like recover yourself from your trauma. You need to become mentally and emotionally healthy so that you can pass on that mental and emotional wealth to your family in the future. Okay, because here's the truth. That trauma, it didn't just like give you depression. It damaged your brain. It's literal brain trauma. It damaged your nervous system, of which your brain is a part, and it altered your DNA. That's correct. When you experience trauma, it changes the way your DNA is expressed in future generations. So your children, because of the trauma that has happened to you, could end up with major physical impairments, physical ailments, and cognitive impairments and conditions because of the trauma that happened to you in your childhood. So you have to get dead serious, dead freaking serious about what happened to you and what you're going to do to make yourself better. Because it's going to keep getting passed on and passed down. So heal your inner child, heal your emotional scars, and rebel against everything that happened to you by becoming the person that everyone that hurt you never had the ability or the guts to become. And that is the truth. That's the truth. That's the gospel truth. Rebellion is for everyone. It is for every single one of us that was ever harmed or wronged by our parents, by our siblings, whoever it was in your childhood. You have a right to rebel against what happened to you. It's not for for select people. Rebellion is a word of growth. It's a word of power. It's an act of personal reclamation, not destruction. And that's especially true when we're talking about toxic families. They have spent your life denying you. So the greatest act of rebellion is then taking a leap and choosing yourself. Be determined to be happy on your own terms. Let yourself be angry. Let yourself see the world as it really is. And if that means being selfish, putting yourself first, do it. You only have this life to make it happen for yourself. And running around and worrying about what people who hurt you want is ridiculous. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. What are you going to do right here and right now? That is the rebellion. Are you going to continue to allow others to push you around to make you miserable? Are you going to settle for a life in the shadows? Like, because of people who didn't even have the courage to stand in their own light. You're going to live your life in shadows because of them? That doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is choosing yourself and choosing a life that is so authentically and fully fulfilling and your own, that is the envy of every single toxic person who has ever touched your life. This is your moment of both faith and of grace. So reach out and grab your success. Grab your happy ending. Give yourself that future. You always deserved it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this episode has given you a little kick in the pants. But more than that, I hope it has really, really, really changed the way you see your recovery journey and what you're doing for yourself. If you loved the episode, why not leave a quick 5-star review on Apple Podcasts? If you take just a couple minutes to head over to Apple Podcasts and write a couple words about what you loved, I'll send you a free ebook. Yeah, you can pick which one of my ebooks you'd like. You can pick one on narcissistic family, my relationship ebook, whatever it is you want. All you have to do is head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a quick 5-star review. Take a screenshot once it's live and email it to me, admin@therealebjohnson.com. Once I've got it, that's it. I'll send you your ebook. It's really that simple, and it is really that free. So earn yourself a free ebook. Head over to Apple Podcasts and let them know what you loved. For everyone else, thank you so much for listening, for reading, for following me on TikTok and blowing me up and making me viral. You guys are incredible. I love you so, so much. And I will be back next week with an all new episode that I know you're really, really going to be really excited about. So thanks again. And until next time, keep your heads up and keep moving forward. Bye-bye.